Summer is definitely coming to an end here in Virginia, even though it is still very warm, but I suspect we will be surprised with cooler weather anytime. Today I am going to show you how to keep you and your family healthy with a simple recipe for some delicious homemade tangy sauerkraut. Full of vitamins and probiotics, it's easy. You only need two things, cabbage and salt. You need a very large bowl. Plastic or stainless is good. However, for fermenting, you must use glass. Clean your cabbages well. Take off any leaves with any debris on them. I generally slice them into 4 sections and cut fairly thin slices, but save that core. You'll want that core. You can put it in a soup or a stew. It adds great nutrition and flavor. Sauerkraut is definitely a superfood. We eat it all the time, and it can make a wonderful gift. I hope you'll join me and make fermented foods a high priority in your diet. If you have any salt issues, please check with your doctor. This is 8 pounds. These 3 are both approximately all 8 pounds. I got these up in Lancaster from an Amish farm, and I just couldn't believe it. I just hope they're good. You know, I really just hope they're good. So go through it first and clean it up really well, because this is going to be sitting out on the counter, you know, all cut up and in a jar, and going through the fermenting process of making sauerkraut. So just make sure that there's no funky stuff or anything on it. There's some spots there, and I'm just going to, you know, just take a little, yeah, see, they're just like little crummy things. I'll get that all off there. The core is going to come off, so that'll be done. Some more little brown spots here. Just keep going, you know, pulling these layers off. They're very thin. Just pull them off until you're down to nice, bright, white, beautiful cabbage that looks just like that. Save these pieces. Now, if there's some of these that are really bad, don't save them. You won't need them. You can just throw that out. But some of this, you might have to take a piece of like one of these really nice pieces, because you might need to have this to use later when we're putting the top on our jar. Over here, these are my lids and my weights that I use. I will put below a link to Amazon. This is where I got them. I have actually 4 of these. One's in the refrigerator in a jar right now. And then 4 of these lids. They're just wonderful. They have that little tiny hole on the top, kind of like a baby bottle, so that the air can escape, gases escape from the bottle and from the glass, the sauerkraut, but nothing can get in it, you know, like bugs or dust or dirt or anything like that. So these are fabulous. It just makes sauerkraut making so very easy. Sometimes cutting up cabbage can be a little bit of a trial for those of us who might have a tad bit of arthritis in our hands. For me, what I usually do, I cut it in 4s, and if I find that I'm having a little bit of trouble with my hands that particular day, I will cut the 4s again one more time. It just makes it a little bit easier. Here you'll see these are the perfect slices for me. They're not too thick, they're not too thin, they work just right. And here you see I cut it in half, and it makes it very easy. Well, I decided that it is just too overwhelming to do 3 of these massive cabbages today. Okay, keep in mind again, you know, that 1 cabbage at the grocery store is approximately 2 pounds, and this 1 cabbage, Lou went up and weighed them, was 8 pounds. So luckily they will sit in your refrigerator. I bought cabbage once when they were on sale, you know, at the grocery store, the smaller ones. And they sat for a month in my refrigerator, and they were perfectly fine, perfectly fine. There was nothing wrong with them. In fact, the last sauerkraut that I made, I made that from those 3. I think there was 3 of them. So my bowl won't hold enough sauerkraut to hold those other 2 massive. I mean, look how big this bowl is. It's huge, you know. You could use it for a foot bath. But, so what I'm going to do is put the rest of these in the refrigerator, and I'll show you what I'm going to do right now. When I'm done slicing all the cabbage up, and do it in increments. If it's too much for you at once, go have a cup of coffee or go sit outside for a little while and come back in and finish it up. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to go bad or anything like that. It's just fine. I need right now to put the salt on my cabbage. Now again, those small cabbages are generally 2 pounds, and the rule of thumb again is 2 pounds. A 2 pound or 2.5 to 3 pound cabbage gets 1 tablespoon of salt. Use a good quality salt. I use a pink Himalayan. If you get Redmond's real salt, you can't get much better than that salt. Please don't use a table salt like the iodine, inexpensive, cheaper salts that everybody kind of has on their table to salt their foods. Use a really good quality salt, because that's what's going to really help draw the water out of that cabbage. That is going to help to ferment the cabbage while it sits on your counter for 3 to 4 weeks. That's how long it has to ferment. And you can go longer if you want. But for me, 3 weeks, I usually go about 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, and it is perfect. I like my sauerkraut a little bit on the crunchy side. I don't like it really soft and mushy. But we'll talk about that in just a moment. So right now, let me show you. This is my cabbage from the last that I did. Oh gosh, a couple months ago. I wish you could smell that. It smells so good, and it is so delicious. This is what we're eating right now. This, in fact, I made 3 of these. This is a half-gallon jar. I always make them in half-gallon jars, and if you have just enough left over and it won't fit in, use a little quart jar, or a jelly jar, or a spaghetti jar. It doesn't matter. Anything really you can use, as long as it's glass. This is one that I have not opened yet. It's been sitting in the refrigerator, and we will eat that. It's all ready to go whenever we're ready. I have 3 nice clean half-gallon jars that I'm going to use for my coleslaw today. Coleslaw. I could make coleslaw out of it right now if I wanted to. But my sauerkraut, and there goes my telephone. Sorry. Okay, I'm back. My little grandson, I had to spend time playing dinosaurs with him over FaceTime. That was fun. All right, I'm gonna get down and dirty with my sauerkraut right now, so I want my hands nice and clean, and I'm taking off all my jewelry. I'm just gonna set it over here. I'm even gonna take my bracelet off. All right, this is my massive bowl of beautifully cut up cabbage. It smells so good already. What you wanna do is just start squishing it. Just start squishing it. You know, don't, just take your time. If you have arthritis in your hands or something, you know, just take your time. If you can only do this for a minute and you have to rest your hands, that's fine. That's what I do. I just do little increments at a time. I like hand chopped cabbage. I really do. But you can do it with your food processor. You can absolutely do that. If you have a grater, you can absolutely do that as well. All right, so yes, okay, general rule again, a tablespoon of salt, good quality salt, to approximately 2 to 3 pounds of cabbage. This is an 8-pound cabbage, so I would probably put in about 4 tablespoons. Let's see, what is this, a teaspoon? Okay, let me get my tablespoon out. It's a little bit bigger. It's bigger. All right, so let's go ahead. Pick up my pretty salt jar here, and let's just go to it. I'm gonna start with 3. 1, and I like to mix up in between. Okay, so I get it down in here too. And make sure it's a level tablespoon, because you don't want it too salty too, but it has to have salt. It really has to have salt in order to draw that water out, in order for it to taste really good. And then I'll put the 3rd one here, and we'll save that 4th one for the last. Don't let me forget to put that in. Be just like me to do that. All right, so put this down here. Now, let's just get in there. It's kind of fun, actually. Hey, if you have your grandkids or kids or a husband or somebody who wants to help you out a little bit, this would be a good time to call them into the kitchen. Or go sit down. Yeah, go sit down and just sit there and do this. What we're doing is trying to draw water out of the cabbage, and that salt is such a help. You will notice immediately, as I am right now, how wet the cabbage is getting. I hope you can see that on the camera. You can see my hands. They're wet, and they were not wet before. But the minute you add that salt, that's what happens. And we're gonna just rub it around for a little bit, just like this. All right, I'm gonna do this for just a few minutes longer, and then I'm gonna cover it up with a clean towel. This towel does not look clean because it has tea stain on it. It's my tea towel, literally. When I'm making tea, if I have a spill or something, I always use this gauzy kind of towel. I'm just going to cover this up, and it really kind of does it by itself. You know, it will just start to sweat by itself. I'm going to let it sit for about 15 minutes, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to check it again, and I'm going to squish some more. I'll know when it's ready when at the bottom of the bowl I can lift some of the slaw up, or the cabbage up, and see that there's water, a whole bunch of water at the bottom. Then you know it's time to throw it in your jar and get it on your counter and get it fermenting. All right, it's been about 20 minutes and I've just let it sit, and I'm just looking at it and it looks really glistening and like the water is just coming out. So let me pull you down here so you can see what I'm seeing. There it is, beautiful coleslaw. I keep calling it coleslaw. I think I want to make coleslaw today. My sauerkraut, see how wet it's getting? Very, very wet. And you can just feel, oh, look at all the water. Can you see that? This is what I wanted to show you. Look at all the water. I'm going to tip the bowl a little bit here, but look at all the water that's down there. That's what you want to produce. And every time you squeeze the juice, you're going to get more and more of that brine, that saltwater brine that this cabbage is making all on its own. This is called a dry salting, which means you're not going to be making a brine separately and adding it. You're allowing the cabbage and the salt itself to rub together and to make its own brine. All right, let's go ahead now, and I'm just gonna, roll it around. If you really have a problem with your hands, you can take some of this and put it in some big gallon Ziploc bags and zip it shut really well. Don't fill it too much, to get all the air out, and take a rolling pin and just roll back and forth. Sometimes that can help if you have a little bit of a hand issues, but I'm telling you, there is nothing like homemade sauerkraut. It is just so good. It is so full of health benefits. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about them. The health benefits of sauerkraut are just unbelievable. That's why I go to this trouble to do this. I usually do it all in one day, and then trying to make as much as I can, and it lasts Lou and I a good long time. We only eat about, a tablespoon or something, a good forkful really on each plate, whether it's breakfast with eggs, lunch with a sandwich, or a piece of meat of some kind, some cheese, or always at dinner. We always have it at dinner, but you don't want to put like a big glob like that on your plate. It's not a salad. Consider it medicine. If nothing else, consider it pure medicine. Oh, look, it's just dripping. It's just dripping with liquid, which is just perfect. All right, but it's not ready quite yet, for me anyway. Because the more you can produce liquid right now while you're rubbing this all together in a great big bowl, the easier it will be when you go to stuff it into your jars. All right, so I'm going to cover it one more time, just like this. I am going to let this just sit again for another 15-20 minutes. That's all, because while it's sitting, that salt is doing the drawing out of the liquid from that huge, massive cabbage. And I still have to add the rest of that salt. All right, it's been another 15 minutes, and this is looking fantastic, and I think it's ready to go ahead and store in our jars. Yeah, kind of wish that you will see how much it has gone down just by sitting here for like a half an hour, and me dry rubbing it in there and creating the liquid. You'll see how much it's really come down. It's not quite as full and fluffy and high as it was. I should have probably done the other the other cabbage. Anyway, this is going to be a wonderful tutorial for you to learn how to make your own sauerkraut, because you will never reap all the benefits of the probiotics that are in this sauerkraut if you buy something at the store. If you buy canned sauerkraut, it has been heat processed. The probiotics are gone. If you buy it in a jar, the probiotics are gone. Anything that's been heat processed ruins and destroys the probiotic, and you're not getting anything but delicious sauerkraut, which is good, but you're not getting the benefits, the gut healthy benefits that you want from this sauerkraut. If you buy sauerkraut from the grocery store, the only way to buy it, and I'm not even 100% sure if you're going to get all the probiotics from it, but at least it hasn't been, as far as I know, it is not heat processed, is over by the sausage, like kielbasa and hot dogs, that cold section over there. Sometimes you can find it in bags, in sauerkraut. I don't care for it. It's kind of mealy. I like a crunchy, fresh, really nice homemade sauerkraut. But if you get in a bind, and a couple of times, I think one time we got in a bind and I had run out of it, and I didn't make it enough time, and I knew I had to wait at least 3 weeks till we could have it again, homemade. So I did buy it, and we did eat it. It's just not as good. Every time we went to eat it, it was like, okay, we'll eat it. Now, let's jar it up. Now, this is the fun part. I love this part. Take a jar. Now, you can use, let me show you. You can use, if you only made a small one and you just have a little bit, you can use just a quart-sized jar. That will be just fine. I have a ½ gallon here that I'm going to use. Let me put this to the side here because I want you to see every bit. I have already packed away my great big green funnel that I had, so I'm sorry. I'm probably going to end up making a mess, but that's okay. That's okay. You guys love me anyway, right? All right, let's get you settled here because I want you to see all of this. All right. Sometimes what I do is just take my good clean jar, just make sure it's clean on the inside and the outside. I stick it down here inside the bowl. And I'm just going to start stuffing it in just like this. And you can wash it off afterwards, that's just fine. But you can see where a funnel, one of those big wide mouth funnels, would probably be best. All right, so I'm going to fill it about that full, right there. Maybe half, a little more than halfway. What I want to do now is produce juice in here. I'm going to take my fist. If you have a plunger, one of those wooden plungers for the sauerkraut, that would be great, but I don't. I just use my fist. And it's very easy, and you can just see the liquid start to rise to the top. You want to make sure that the sauerkraut is completely immersed in the liquid, completely. No oxygen. We do not want any oxygen to get down there to the cabbage, okay? All right, I can feel it on top, but I'm gonna take it out of here for just a minute because I think you can probably see the liquids more. Yeah, probably best I do it this way. All right, so here's my ½ gallon jar and here's my quart jar, and they're very, very full. Here is one of my glass weights. It looks just like this. It's very thick. It's got a little handle like right here. I'm going to press that down and put it right over all that cabbage. I'm going to press it because I want it to be filled with liquid. You want liquid all the way up. You don't want to see any floaters. They call them floaters. If you see any itty bitty tiny pieces of cabbage floating around, just take a spoon and get it out, and it's just fine. Otherwise, because it could mold if something rises above the brine level. But there was so much brine in here that, I mean, this whole bowl here is full of brine that you can use to cover. And I'm not going to throw this out. I'm going to keep this for the next time that I make my sauerkraut, which will probably be tomorrow or the next day. And then I'm going to take one of these very, very wonderful little fermenters. It's got a little hole in the top here, kind of like a baby bottle. It lets the gases escape, but it doesn't let stuff get in there. Okay, so you'll notice there's nothing here. It's all nice and clean And now I'm going to put this little lid right on top. Then I'm going to take one of my metal rings and put it on here. I'm not gonna seal it really tight. Just leave it a little bit loose, just like that. Okay. Now put this one to the side here. Now this, let me show you. But Darlene, I don't have those lids. I don't have those little rubber things. I don't have one of those weights. So this is why we save some of our cabbage leaves, because right now, this is the first kind of way that I did it when I first did my cabbage, because I didn't have any of those weights either. So you just take a piece of cabbage, that's kind of a thick one, nice and clean piece, and you want to stick it down around the sides, just like this. Get it covered. In other words, cover as much as you possibly can with these cabbage leaves. They're nice and hardy, and they're not going to hurt anything, and they will help. All you're doing this for is to help hold down that cabbage underneath there. Put in as many of these as you need, okay? And again, just keep a lookout for any little floaters that might rise to the top. Put in as much of these as you need. Try to keep them intact. If you can use one whole cabbage leaf tucked up really nice and neat, that's good. Mine just didn't kind of work out that way. So this is the way I'm going to do it. And it's just fine. They work just perfectly. Like I said, it's the first time I didn't have all the equipment, but I wanted to get it started. And there we go. Okay, see? It's packed down. There's no floaters. The juice is on the top. And you're ready to go. And all you need to do is take, well, you can use this that come with the jars. Or if you're using a spaghetti jar or something, just put that lid right on here. Make sure it's really clean. Or what I have here, I keep these little plastic lids that are made to go on these little quart jars, and I just use that. That's all. And I just loosely put it on there, and there you go. One last thing about sauerkraut. It's going to go on the counter, and it's going to be on the counter for about 3 to 4 weeks. You're going to check it every single day. All you have to do, it's called burping. Every day. You just come down in the morning, do, oh, how's the kraut doing? Open it up. It's going to smell kind of icky, but don't worry. There's also going to be a little bit of lacto fermentation going on. You'll see some white, creamy kind of stuff. It's okay. It's fine. It's supposed to happen, okay? Now, as far as molds go and that kind of stuff and calm yeast and all that, it can happen. Very, very rare. Sauerkraut is the easiest fermented vegetable that you can make. Other vegetables like carrots, cucumbers, to make pickles, they're easy too. They really are, but they can create a little bit more of a problem sometimes when you're looking for something to enter the jar that shouldn't be there, So, yeah, you want to check on that. Same with this, but when you use this, the weight and this kind of a baby bottle top like that, it's much easier, it's much safer. It's just, if you want to make your own sauerkraut, just go ahead and get them. It was hard for me to find a set that had 4 of the weights and 4 of the rubbery tops here, but I did, and I hope I can find it again, because I'm going to list it below for you. And if you want to make sauerkraut, I highly suggest you can use, these are the same size for both a quart jar or a half-gallon jar. All right, you'll see that I went ahead and put these in a dish that has a high lid to it, high lip to it on the side there. The reason for that is your sauerkraut is going to leak. It is. It's going to sweat and it's going to leak. That's why we don't want to tighten these too tight. That is a natural process. It has to happen. Okay, so don't be afraid if you wake up and you see all this juice in the bottom of the bowl. Make sure you use a bowl or you'll really have a mess. Just a bowl. That's all you need, is just a little bowl or a little container of some kind, a pie pan, something. And then when you check your sauerkraut, sometimes the juice is going to start going down and you'll think, now what do I do? My sauerkraut's not covered, or something like that. Save this juice, just like I saved this juice from today. I also save the juice that leaks off from my sauerkraut that is fermenting. I save it in a jar. And if it starts to go down a little bit, I simply, first of all, I check for floaters and I get rid of them. Your cabbage will start to look kind of funny. Let me show you. This is fresh kraut right here. You can see it's nice and white and greenish, you know, very pale. This is kraut that is finished. It's got a very yellowy, brownish more look to it. And when it looks like this, that's a good thing. That's a real good thing. Okay, it's yummy. So it'll take a while for it to get that way. Approximately three weeks for me is like the perfect, but a lot of people like to go even longer. But I like the taste and the texture at 3 weeks. All right, so there we go. We have that in there, and you're leaking. If it leaks, you want to collect the juice and just say that's down a little bit the next morning or in a week or something. You just pour your juice and make sure that it's covered. Again, you put your lid back on and you leave it alone until the next morning. You just peek at it again. You're just peeking. Make sure that your sauerkraut is always underwater. It is always, always submerged. All right, well there, we did it. We made sauerkraut today. Beautiful, beautiful sauerkraut. I'm so excited. And now tomorrow, I'm gonna wash this big old blue bowl out tonight, and I'm probably gonna use it tomorrow because I wanna make up the rest of those beautiful cabbage in there. Weren't they glorious? They were so massive, just so big. All right, and we got 3 quarts out of it, a half gallon and a quart. So, all right, well, thank you so much for being with me today. Let me know if you think you would like to try making sauerkraut all on your own. And if you have any questions, let me know. If I don't know the answers, I will direct you to someone who might know more about something you ask, okay? Sauerkraut, it is gut friendly and you need to be eating it. All right, now, I'm Darlene. This is Super at 60. I will see you soon. Bye. Lord bless.